They have a lot of papers.
You had
too.
asked the question in the beginning of the semester, do y'all want quizzes or do y'all want papers?
For the final, yeah. For the final exam. I mean, we can do like a review of the entire book, multiple choice if you want to, but most people choose to do the self-reflection paper. Would you rather do multiple choice of the entire book?
You ready?
That's what I'm saying. That's why most people choose the paper. I mean,
the paper was like 5 pages, right? Like it was a long paper.
probably your most recent one. So I can pull that one up before I go through this PowerPoint to show you. You think you might be missing one of the papers?
I know I'm missing the 4-page paper.
Okay. And it also may be 3 to 4. So what is that? The global social work paper that you're missing, it sounds like.
I did the social work as a career, the ethics, and then the one after that I didn't do.
Okay. So here is your syllabus, and this would be where all of your assignments are. This is how you would pass the class. You do all of the papers. I do keep them open for you guys. So the first one was this social work as a career paper. That one said that it's like 2 to 3. The next one is values assignment. That's like the code of ethics, which you have business ethics. You'll have psychology has ethics. Are you a social work major?
Oh, no.
Okay, so you got your own code of ethics there. And that's why we cover this. That one, well, that's 3 to 4. And then this global social work paper is finding a job that's local and then finding the international job. So International Federation of Social Work and National Association of Social Work, NASW. So that one is the 4-pager that you were saying. Usually people will do like Peace Corps if you want to do that after you graduate. AmeriCorps is local, but Peace Corps, like my dad did it in a different country. I think it was Samoa. And then they'll write a local one, which is AmeriCorps. It could be like in New Jersey. It could be in Chicago or Lexington, Kentucky. They have AmeriCorps everywhere. Then look up how much they get paid. And a lot of people do that right after they graduate because it forgives their student loans. Like AmeriCorps helps to forgive your student loans. And then, write a job that you find, like the listing, and it says like do an internet search on social work job opportunities in the USA, other countries besides the USA, internationally. The paper should include these positions and a short description of the job. You could be a social worker in Iraq or Afghanistan. Students should include in the paper international positions, and then the pay. And then here's the presentation. You guys said you wanted me to go over this before we finish. All right. Any questions about any of the papers now, or are you? Okay. So here is the field observation. So people do either 6 or 7 slides just to cover like 10 minutes. And then in the description, it says sometime during the semester, students must expand their boundaries by putting themselves in a setting where they are a racial minority in a situation which they are unfamiliar. Some people just go eat at like Big Boy or even Perkins and then see how the servers are with you. Prior to participating in this experience, students are to identify common stereotypes and prejudices often associated with the population or group. Even Walmart in Xenia, Ohio, people are like, right.
You could really do that one, yeah.
Right. Like when I went from inner city Cincinnati, where I grew up and lived, and I went to graduate school for social work at the University of Kentucky, it was different for me to like observe Lexington, Kentucky, Kroger's and Walmart, because I was like an inner city kid, and then people out there were like more country, if that makes any sense. So it says students attend by themselves. It's fine if you go to the place and eat with friends. But observe feelings, reactions, experiences, and then identify any stereotypes, prejudices, and differences in a communication style and or culture, which observed or you are the recipient, then written in outline format and presented to the class. Here's how one person did it. Her field observation, she said, the setting for my observation is Xenia, where I attend college. I'm currently the minority because, according to the U.S. Census, Xenia is 83% white and 11.6% Black or African American. Common stereotypes of Black African Americans, she wrote when she did the assignment: angry or criminals, thugs, uneducated, impoverished, broken homes, no home, training, ghetto, ugly, less than human. She wrote monkeys, apes, violent. So that was what she said is from Stop the Stereotyping website. Experiences. When doing self-checkout at Walmart, see, she did Walmart too. The employee working in the area makes sure to keep a close eye on me while scanning my items, make sure that I am not going to steal. The person working at the door at Walmart will go out of their way to check my receipt and match the items of my cart. Dirty looks. Have you guys been to Walmart yet?
Yeah.
Do they do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they really do.
So yeah, just try to have like a new experience with it. I know that you might be writing the same things, but just try to be like intentional and observant. And even if you do it at like Frisch's, Big Boy, or Perkins, or some people did rapid fire pizza because they said one time Rapid Fire gave a special half off to College Day, and every university around here in Dayton got it except for Central State University. And they noticed that and called them out on it. And the manager apologized, like, sorry, we forgot you guys were a college. Like, what the hell? We've been here since 1897. How do you forget that we're a college? So,
Did Wilberforce get it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Because they are so small that I always forget about Wilberforce, even though we started because of Wilberforce, actually. So she also observed difference in communication style. She said white people have a superiority complex regarding Blacks and often talk down to us. Blacks have been abused, mistreated, and take offense and are on defense. Many times Blacks hold in their feelings, which makes them a keg ready to explode. I didn't understand that at first. Opportunities to sit and work out differences and get an understanding between two races don't happen. Some take to higher education to change situations, like maybe getting more educated, helping with jobs and things of that. Feelings and reactions. She said, coming from a minority dominated city like Cleveland, Ohio, to living in a rural town like Xenia has been a significant change in my life. When I leave campus, I make sure to be very cautious about how I am acting in public because I don't want any confrontation that could lead me to any trouble. I feel like I need to code switch when I'm off campus so I won't be misunderstood or seen as a threat. I am optimistic that I will feel more comfortable going off campus and feeling welcomed by the people in town one day. Because a lot of the work or jobs or internships we do is in the town. I don't know if I can click on that. So that was like her citation. So yeah, coming up, if you come to class, you can present it from here. So it's actually filmed. People that are online, which I don't know how much longer we're going to have online because of COVID. It feels like they're saying COVID's over. They stopped the mask mandate everywhere except Central State University. And so that is our last, our only presentation assignment. And then there'll be like the diversity and practice paper. And then like the final exam. So it still sounds like you guys would rather not do a multiple choice over all 14 chapters, right? You'd rather write the self-reflection paper. You can do it if you want, but it's up to you.
Have you ever had a class do it?
I'm pretty sure almost nobody wants to take the multiple choice exam, but I have it, like they give it to us from the book just because they give us the PowerPoints. The self-reflection paper is really just about your life. Like, why did you choose the major that you did? Why are you doing what you do? Do you take time for self-care? You know what I mean? And then the multiple choice one is like 10 questions from every chapter. So it's like 140 questions.
Never mind.
I mean, I like to still give choices, but it's just like this. They give us a PowerPoint for every chapter, and then they give us multiple choice questions with the answers for every chapter. I just think we learn more and better by like experiences. Like, what do you all want to do when you graduate college? That's like the big question. What do you want to do with your lives?
I want to work like full time at the company I'm working at now because it just has like a whole bunch of like opportunities for like management positions.
What is the company?
Wegmans, the grocery store.
Oh, you were saying that. Okay. And then they pay well, and you've kept the job, and they even let you come here 3 months. And how much cheaper is Central State from your local college?
Rutgers is like the Ohio State of
Right.
Ohio.
Right.
So Central State is probably like 10 times cheaper than.
So you still could finish online. You're just saying you
Yeah, I don't.
struggle online. I would fail out if I had to do online school nowadays. I know people choose. We have 4 online here. Tyler Robinson. Oh, Tyler wants to present Thursday. Yes, that's fine. Lyric Lewis, Jasmine Pitts. And some people are better online. I'm just a hot mess. Like, I can't get motivated. I would forget doing papers. And I had teachers that would not let me turn in a paper late, and then they would just fail me. I don't know if you guys have any teachers like that. Maybe. Do most of your teachers take late work, or do they?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Most of my for all of mine do. They don't really even take them to off that. They do, but it don't be a lot. Like, you can still get full credit.
Right,
So they
yeah.
know you can do it.
I do 10%, so it's like you still can pass and even get like an A technically. So I am going to, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated, so that always took a while. And then somebody convinced me of the Masters of Social Work. And here is your quick 12-minute video of how social work even started in Chicago. Anybody from Chicago? Yes.
Our country is vibrant and strong because it has been woven from people's stories into a compelling narrative of struggle, renewal, and success. The social work profession has a distinguished history of not only providing social safety nets to the most vulnerable, but also challenging systems that impede social mobility. This presentation is a journey through the pioneers of social work who wove the first threads of advocacy into the fabric of our profession.
If there is a hub around which the social work universe turns, it is Jane Addams, a leading social reformer of her day and lifelong champion of social justice. In 1889, she founded Hull House in Chicago, part of the settlement house movement dedicated to giving immigrants and other marginalized people in the cities access to healthcare, education, sports activities, and political power. Settlements focused more on the causes of poverty than on the flaws of the poor. Some of the social problems addressed were infant mortality, factory working conditions, housing and sanitation conditions, and truancy. Some of these investigations led to social policy. Throughout her life, she threw her energies into such activities as gaining the vote for women and the international peace movement. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931, the first given to a woman, though in the...
Did you guys know women only started voting 100 years ago? That seems to me is like my grandparents were born 100 years ago. So like when she was born, my grandma couldn't vote when she was born. So just
United States, her pacifist views gained her the reputation of being one of the most dangerous women in the country. Mary Richmond's research on poverty and other social ills in her book, The Social Diagnosis, formed the basis of social casework, or what we would today call person-centered care. World War I provided unique opportunities for social caseworkers through their work in war-related activities, such as the Red Cross's home service. Led by Mary Richmond, caseworkers applied their skills to problems faced by servicemen and their families.
This could also be used for your international social work paper. So like some of the jobs still in international social work do include like military social work or Peace Corps if you did the opposite of military and things of that nature. So you could use some of these examples for your international social work paper if you still have to do it.
Richmond's most important contribution was her insistence that care was a partnership, where the social worker would work with people's strengths to craft appropriate responses to a person's needs. Before Florence Kelly began her work in 1899 at the Henry Street Settlement on New York's Lower East Side, she cut her teeth with Adams at Hull House, where she surveyed working conditions in local factories. Her research led Illinois to pass the first factory law prohibiting children under 14 from being employed. In New York, she became secretary of the National Consumers League, responsible for introducing the white label designation, which was granted to employers that followed labor laws and safety standards. She also led campaigns that resulted in the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, which regulated working hours and minimum wage. She established the National Child Labor Committee, and her signature accomplishment was the creation of several organizations that set up federal-state partnerships to combat maternal and infant mortality and better the lives of children. Robert Hunter came from the Chicago Hull House to join University Settlement in New York, where he headed Florence Kelly's National Child Labor Committee and commissioned Louis W. Hine to photograph child labor in America, which Hine did from 1908 to 1912. Hunter's employment of Hine led to one of the most recognized set of images in American culture. The young people in Hines's photos give a stark and uncompromising picture of the way the economic system used anyone of any age to generate its profits. And these pictures helped galvanize many states into passing laws banning child labor.
So did you guys know like the 40-hour work week also came about because of social workers, like they have workers' rights. They used to have child labor because families kind of like thrived off of it, but with the advocacy of social workers at the time, that's when they put into place child labor laws to like allow you to have a childhood and then work at like 14, 16, or 18. But back in the day, they had these kids working in machines because their hands were smaller and could get into machines. But social workers advocated for kids to have like childhood.
It took the federal government until 1938 to do the same thing. Etta Wheeler brought the first case against child abuse in the United States in 1874. The child was Mary Ellen Wilson. At that time, there were no laws against child abuse, and although she went to the police, the courts, and the church, nobody listened. So she went to Henry Bergh, founder of the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, who became an ally in Wheeler gathered documentation on the abuse and recruited witnesses, while Bergh contacted New York Times reporters who published detailed accounts and pictures of the abuse. Mary Ellen was removed from her parents' custody, and her case led to the creation of the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, the first protection agency in the world. Later in life, Mary Ellen got married, had 2 children, and later adopted an orphaned girl. She died in 1956 at 92. The Great Depression gave the social work profession a national stage. The American Association of Social Workers testified before the Senate on the gravity of the crisis, and many people who began their careers in settlements now moved into public service, such as Frances Perkins, who became Secretary of Labor, Molly Dewson, a political organizer for the Democratic Party, Aubrey Williams, Assistant Federal Relief Administrator, and Harry Hopkins, an architect of FDR's New Deal. Social work's influence also changed cultural attitudes about poverty and misfortune. Before the Great Depression, most people thought of welfare as something poor people received from mostly private charities. After the Depression, providing welfare for American citizens became a widely recognized responsibility of the federal government. Social workers, like many others from the 1950s to the 70s, worked in the civil rights movement. Whitney Moore Young Jr., president of the National Urban League from 1961 to 71, initiated programs in education and community-based planning and encouraged major corporations to hire more Blacks. Dorothy Height, a key figure in the struggles for school desegregation, voting rights, employment opportunities, and public accommodations, was called the godmother of the civil rights movement by President Barack Obama. Irina Sendler, a Catholic Polish social worker with the Warsaw Municipal Social Service, saved the lives of about 2,500 Jewish children in the Warsaw Ghetto. Under the pretext of inspecting sanitary conditions, Sendler and her co-workers smuggled out the children, sometimes disguised as packages. Sendler kept records of all the children in a jar so that after the horrors ended, they could be reunited with relatives. In 1999, encouraged by a teacher whose classroom motto was, "He who changes one person changes the world entire," students in rural Kansas discovered Irina's story. They exchanged hundreds of letters with her and visited her several times. Sendler started a tradition when the first students went to Poland to visit her. She gave them each a necklace saying, "No matter where you are or what happens, you will always have a piece of my heart." Ida Cannon, Dr. Richard Cabot, and Garnett Isabel Pelton helped establish the first social work department at the Massachusetts General Hospital in 1906, with Cannon being named the first chief of social work in 1914. Together, they created collaborative systems of practice that mixed medical and psychological information with data gleaned about patients' living conditions. Dr. Cabot held that it was not possible to restore patients to health without considering what he called the non-somatic factors, such as living conditions. Ida Cannon professed that social workers see the patient as a member belonging to a family or community group that is altered because of his ill health, a concept that is still relevant to our practice today. In 1904, Presbyterian Hospital placed a nurse as a social worker in the Neurological Institute to assist patients and focus on promoting public health. That same year saw the creation of the New York School of Applied Philanthropy, which later became Columbia's School of Social Work. Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center added a social work department in the 1920s and hired Janet Thornton as the first director in 1924. Thornton published The Social Component in Medical Care in 1937 to demonstrate that improving a patient's social factors would decrease the impact of disabilities. And lastly, our own Sheila Ryan, who added the most amazing threads to this fabric of social work history. Sheila died of cancer on January 20th, 2013. When she was just 18, she began her lifelong commitment to social justice, volunteering for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and going to Mississippi for Freedom Summer voting registration battles. She was arrested at the first ever sit-in at the White House, where she and others demanded to speak to President Johnson about Selma, Alabama. Always active while in prison, she organized a prisoner-to-prisoner literacy program. In the 1980s, Sheila worked for peace in the Middle East, wrote extensively, and co-hosted a radio program. Sheila also earned simultaneous master's degrees in social work and public health from Columbia University and became director of the Special Needs Clinic, supporting children and families affected by HIV/AIDS. Along with other special needs clinic staff, she co-authored several chapters in a psychology handbook. Dr. Warren Ning said at her funeral that she was a fighter, armed with her humanity and her exquisite intellect. Dr. Jenny Havens also remembered her as a true social worker, loved and trusted by her patients. In an interview in 1999, Sheila described the clinic's patients as people whom the system considers expendable. They've been beaten and traumatized, their families have been torn apart, and still they won't give up. Their will to survive, not just in a physical sense, but as human beings, is inspiring.
This presentation has been a brief journey through a family album that helped.
All right, so lots of different things social workers do. I know you guys are all different majors, so even if you're not a social work major, you'll probably interact with a social worker. Have you ever interacted with a social worker in your life in any way? Maybe HR at your grocery store, where they kind of help you. If there's conflict or people fighting, do you ever have employees fight?
No, it's usually like customers versus employees.
Right. Okay. So like teaching how to handle customers, handle angry customers, things of that nature. So
It was like in school. This teacher put me like a lot type thing.
really, I don't think you can do that legally.
On serious,
Like, cause I said her son looked like a girl, so she was like, "What did you say about my son?"
Really?
Type like that. Yeah. And,
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to like touch you or wrestle you down. So
Yeah, and the girls, one of the students' mom works at the school, and I think she was kind of like, "Did you know the teacher put Tiffany in the headlock today?" And I was like, "What?" I don't think it was. I think it was like Dyfus or something. But
okay.
like, I don't know why Dyfus would come.
What does that mean? What is GYFS? I don't know if I've heard of that one.
Dyfus is like,
Children and Family Services?
yeah, but like, it had nothing to do with my family. That's why I was
Yeah.
confused. Like, why would they come? But I think it was a social worker.
Okay. Yeah. Well, cool. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, not really CPS now because like they take me away from my mom. But
Right. That would be bad.
like, yeah, and I would be confused if they took me away from my mom. Like, what did she do? She didn't do that.
Right. Well, do you guys have any questions about the papers or the presentation at this point?
Can I just see the slides of the presentation one more time?
Yeah. This was somebody else, so I'll just kind of show. They do like 6 or 7 slides of the observation if you went to Walmart, a place to eat.
Okay, so for the setting of observation, she just told where she was, what she did, where she was.
She did, yeah. She kind of showed how she was the minority, gave the common stereotype, just the way the directions in the syllabus say to do.
Okay.
The experiences, difference in communication style and culture, her feelings and reactions, and then it's actually not works cited for maybe in business they still call it works cited, but in psychology and in social work we call it references. So that was the only thing. Oh, does business do APA now? That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, they might have sold it strongly. So following these exact instructions that are on the syllabus for that assignment. And believe it or not, only a small paper for the last month and then like our final. You guys are done. So I will keep everything open if you still have to turn something in. You can still turn it in and pass the class essentially. Did you guys have any of the classes that are what's the hardest classes that you're in at this point? Is it like, oh gosh, I can't even spell that. What major is that for? Biology. Ah,
Have you took a lot of lab?
Not-
well, cool. Any other questions about? I will leave these papers open for you just so you have the chance to get them done. And that's all I have for today. We'll finish the chapter 10 PowerPoint on Thursday. So, and we'll have Tyler wants to present. Tyler Robinson is presenting his field experience. So you guys can see an example right off the bat. Well, that's all I've got. If somebody has a piece of paper for sign-in, I do not have one today. If you want to lend us a paper. Hopefully inflation hasn't hit paper sources yet already. Yeah. If you want to, you can film it on YouTube Live if you really don't like coming in and like send it so we can put it into the discussion. Or if you come in here, you can, I'll film it for you that way. So a lot of people find it easier just to bring in your little presentation, plug it in here, get it on Google Docs, and then present it, and then it's done. So, and that is the gist of it. I'm like, why was it such a short stream today? It's because it wasn't working at first. So any questions on the online people? I think they all fell asleep like you were saying. You start watching the live stream and then you snooze off. Like, that's what I would do. I'm surprised you guys do online classes so well. Anybody here like online classes better?
I think it's like, you know, like, I don't do my online classes throughout the week. I do all my work on Sunday. So like, I have my free time Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday is just a homework for the class. Unless something to do like.
I would fail every online class. Yes. Well, biology is really in person. You got to do like labs and stuff. You can't do that online. So, cool. All right. Well, we will finish.